This is my prediction for the Eubank Benn upcoming fight on April the 26th at 160 pounds. So, yeah, I mean, this fight, to be honest, to me, it's kind of like not really a fight I'm really that looking forward to because neither of these guys have really won a world title. They've kind of milked the living off of their dad's name, but they do, have some ability. I can't just completely bash them, to be fair. And, growing up the way that they did, they are still trying to pursue something in their life, given the privilege that they have. That being said, I don't think either of them would be nearly as successful if it wasn't for their last names. But yeah, just looking at the fight and breaking it down, I think Eubank Jr. is going to take this. I think he stops Conor Benn. I don't think Conor Benn's big enough for 160. And to be honest, I don't even rate Conor Benn. And I'm not saying Eubank is like a top pound for pound guy or anything like that, because he's not. But he's at least mixed it with a few of the top guys in the division. Like he fought Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously he lost to him, but he was somewhat competitive in that fight. Then fought at 68 where he was undersized, lost to George Groves quite comfortably. And then he's been back down at middleweight since then. He had the win over Yildirim, but Yildirim was, a guy when he steps up who really just doesn't perform. But yeah, I just think Eubank's got a bit more about him, compared to Conor Benn. I mean, Conor Benn, what has he really done? I mean, he popped for PEDs. And before that, yeah, he had a few knockouts where he looked good and stuff like that. But how much of that was because of the PEDs? Because when you look at Conor Benn earlier in his career, like when he fought against Paynu, he looked very basic, right? He looked like a very basic fighter who wasn't going very far at all. Then around sort of 2020-ish, 2019, he started knocking people out. And really, he hadn't really changed as a fighter. Like when you look at Conor Benn, it's not like from the Paynu fight, he like technically got so much better. Like that never happened. He just started knocking people out. So, I mean, maybe that's further evidence that he did use the PEDs and, that he is guilty, which many people do believe. And, I mean, it turned into a massive SHIT show, didn't it? With this whole PED testing and whatnot. I mean, I think he was guilty. I'm not being a hater or anything like that before Conor Benn fanboys jump on me. I just think when you look at the evidence, you look at the number of tests that he failed, I think Conor Benn cheated. And I think the empirical evidence as well as the theoretical evidence add up, Sorry about the noise. That's a tenants downstairs. I'm recording this in the loft. So yeah, apologies about that. But getting back to the fight, yeah, I think Eubank Jr. is going to win this by stoppage. I think Conor Benn in his last outing against Tony Dobson, I was not impressed with Conor Benn at all. I was not impressed with Conor Benn. He was getting hit, and I was thinking if this guy had a bit more power, he might have even stopped Conor Benn. And that's a guy that fight, I think Conor Benn weighed about 150 something. Now he's going to fight Eubank at 160. Yeah, I think that uppercut's going to land all day long. I think Conor Benn is too eager. I don't think he has the size to impose his aggressive fighting style on Eubank. I think he's going to walk onto a lot of shots. And look, like I said, Eubank himself is no Dimitri Bivol here. I'm not trying to make Eubank Jr. out to be some sort of pound for pound GOAT of boxing. But, based on what we've seen from both fighters, he has been at a higher level, He's definitely been at a higher level than Conor Benn. But one thing I would say, the one caveat I would throw in, even though I'm not changing my official prediction or anything like that, I'm going Eubank Jr. by stoppage between rounds 5 and 6. I think he's going to get Conor Benn out of there. The one caveat I'd throw in is Eubank Jr.'s punch resistance is concerning, because not only did he get knocked out or stopped or whatever you want to call it against Liam Smith in their first fight, against Sacramento there was a punch that he landed, and I think that hurt Chris Eubank. Now a lot of people might not know what I'm talking about. What you're talking about? It's very subtle, but if you've followed boxing a long time and you've boxed yourself, you can recognize these little subtleties in there. And yeah, I think he was hurt against Sacramento, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? We do know that he's cutting weight quite aggressively to make 160. Is that going to start to affect him? There is a caveat there. That's the one thing. If Eubank isn't, gone, if his punch resistance isn't gone, like it's turned to jelly sort of thing, I think he wins this fight all day long. All day long. Yeah? Conor Benn's only chance in this fight is that Chris Eubank's punch resistance has gone. And the only evidence we see of that is the Liam Smith fight. And maybe the Sacramento fight, because I do think he was hurt against Camille Sacramento. So, yeah, but I also think Benn was hurt to the body against Dobson. Yeah. There was a right hand to the body that Conor Benn landed. That Peter Dobson landed on Conor Benn that hurt him. Yeah. So, and if he was getting tagged up like that against Dobson, and he really couldn't put a dent in Dobson or the guy who fought before that, who were 154 pounders, assuming Chris Eubank Jr.'s chin isn't completely gone, he takes this fight, man. Stoppage, yeah. I don't normally, in big sort of matchups like this, I don't really pick stoppages, because I think the occasion, the event, sometimes it just turns into a bit of a snooze fest. But I'm actually going with Chris Eubank Jr. by stoppage, rounds 5 to 6. Yeah, rounds 5 to 6, maybe a little bit later, because Conor will come out aggressive. He will try to land his big right hand. I think Eubank, is a bit more cerebral. Conor fights more from emotions and early with the adrenaline of the occasion. Conor might be a bit dangerous early, but down the stretch, this is only going one way. I think Eubank Jr. can possibly put a real bad beat down on Conor Benn. I really feel that way. But the caveat in all of this is, has Conor Benn just hit the lottery here? Because if Eubank Jr.'s punch resistance is gone, and Conor Benn is somewhat of the puncher that he was prior to the ban, because he hasn't shown that punching power after the ban, let's be honest. But he's been fighting bigger guys. But Eubank Jr. is a bigger guy. So saying, well, okay, yeah, his punching power's not gone. It's just that he's fighting bigger guys. Well, yeah, now he's fighting an even bigger guy, in Eubank Jr. So the only logical explanation you can have, in my opinion, for Conor Benn winning this fight is if Chris Eubank Jr.'s punch resistance is absolutely gone. There's no other logical way you look at these two fighters and you say Chris Eubank Jr. doesn't win. And that's not because Chris Eubank Jr. is some all-time great pound-for-pound guy and Conor Benn stepping up 10 levels. No, it's because Conor Benn himself hasn't really proven much. Let's just be honest about it. He knocked out Chris Algieri, who was old, who was really a 140-pounder, and had been getting beaten up in his last few fights. Knocked out Samuel Vargas, but Vargas took a beating from Virgil Ortiz. Right? And that may have been a Conor Benn on steroids. And probably was a Conor Benn on steroids. So, yeah. Chris Eubank Jr., stoppage in the 5th or the 6th round. That's my prediction. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, subscribe, and peace out.